A Guide to the Good Life, by William B. Irvine. Introduction. Imagine you're a powerful Roman senator, walking through the public baths. It's a place of noise, steam, and conversation. Suddenly, out of nowhere, another man, someone you don't even know, strikes you. It's a moment of shock, of public disrespect. In that split second, what do? Do you lash out? Do you call for the guards? Do you demand an apology? For most of us, anger would boil over. Humiliation would sting. The rest of our day, maybe even our week, would be ruined by replaying that moment in our minds. But this isn't the story of most of us. This is the story of Cato, one of the most respected Stoic philosophers in Rome. When the man who struck him realized his terrible mistake and rushed over to apologize, Cato simply replied, "I don't remember being struck." He didn't pardon the man, because in his mind, there was nothing to pardon. The event was so insignificant, so far beneath his concern, that it didn't even register. What kind of mental training, what kind of inner strength, does it take to reach that level of calm? That is the question at the heart of the book we're exploring today, A Guide to the Good Life, The Ancient Art of Stoic Joy, by William B. Irvine. Now, you might have heard the word Stoic before. You probably picture someone who is emotionless, grim, and endures hardship with a stiff upper lip. Someone who is, well, boring. But as Irvine discovered on his own journey, almost everything we think we know about the ancient Stoics is wrong. They weren't joyless. In fact, they were experts in joy. They weren't passive. They were emperors, playwrights, entrepreneurs, and teachers who were deeply engaged in the world. And they weren't trying to eliminate emotion, they were trying to perfect it. This book is a rediscovery of their lost art. It's a practical guide to an ancient operating system for the human mind, designed for one purpose: to help you live a good life, a life filled with meaning, purpose, and a profound sense of tranquility. By the end of our time together today, I'm going to share with you the core psychological tools these Stoics developed, tools that have been used by everyone from Roman emperors to prisoners of war to find peace and even joy in the most difficult of circumstances. This isn't just a history lesson. It's a blueprint for building an unshakable mind in a world that seems designed to shake us. Book summary. Let me start by asking you a question, the same one William Irvine asks at the beginning of his book, "What do you want out of life?" And I don't mean the small things, a new phone, good grades, a fun weekend. I mean the big thing. Your grand goal in living. If you had to pick one thing that mattered above all else, what would it be? It's a tough question. Most of us have never really thought about it. Our culture doesn't encourage it. In fact, it provides us with an endless stream of distractions so we never have to. We spend our lives chasing a mix of affluence, social status, and pleasure, hoping that if we just get enough of them, we'll finally feel satisfied. But the Stoics warn us that without a clear grand goal, without a philosophy of life, we risk the greatest tragedy of all, the danger of misliving. The danger of reaching the end of our days, looking back, and realizing we wasted our one and only chance. We spent our life pursuing baubles, while something genuinely valuable slipped through our fingers. So, what did the Stoics believe was the most valuable goal of all? It wasn't fame. It wasn't wealth. It was something they called tranquility. Now, tranquility isn't what you might think. It's not a sleepy zombie-like state you'd get from a pill. Stoic tranquility is a state of mind marked by the absence of negative emotions like anger, grief, anxiety, and fear, and the presence of positive emotions, especially a deep and lasting joy. It's a kind of psychological invincibility. It's the peace that comes from knowing that whatever happens in the world outside of you, your inner world, your mind, can remain calm, steady, and strong. But how do we achieve this? The Stoics were practical people. They didn't just tell you what to want, they gave you a powerful set of mental tools to get it. And the master key, the foundational tool that unlocks everything else, is an idea from the former slave turned great philosopher, Epictetus. He called it the dichotomy of control. It starts with a simple, life-changing observation. Some things are up to us and some are not up to us. That sounds obvious, right? But Irvine takes this a step further and clarifies it into what he calls the trichotomy of control, which is even more useful. He says everything you will ever encounter in your life falls into one of three categories. First, there are the things you have complete control over. Second, there are the things you have no control over at all. And third, there are the things you have some, but not complete, control over. Let's break that down. What are the things you have complete control over? It's a surprisingly short list. It includes the goals you set for yourself, the values you choose to live by, and the character you build. You have total power over your own opinions and your own integrity. Then there are the things you have zero control over. Whether the sun rises tomorrow, whether it rains, what other people think of you, and, this is a big one, anything that has already happened in the past. The Stoics' first move is to stop worrying about this entire category. It is a complete waste of your time and energy. Worrying about things you can't change is like trying to command the tides. It's futile, and it will only drain you. But the most interesting category is the third one, the things you have some but not complete control over. This is where most of life happens. Things like winning a tennis match, getting a good grade on a test, or having your boss give you a promotion. You can influence the outcome, but you can't guarantee it. Your opponent might be having the game of their life. The test might be unfairly hard. Your boss might be in a bad mood. So how does a Stoic deal with this? This is where they perform a brilliant mental maneuver. They internalize their goals. Instead of making your goal to win the tennis match, an external outcome you don't fully control, you make your goal to play to the absolute best of your ability in every single moment of the match. That is an internal goal, and it's something you have complete control over. If you do that, you become invincible. If you lose the match, you haven't failed. Your goal wasn't to win, it was to play your best. And you did that. There's no room for disappointment or frustration. And here's the beautiful irony. What better way is there to increase your chances of winning than by focusing on playing your absolute best? This single shift in perspective is a superpower. Your goal isn't to get the A on the test, your goal is to study with complete focus and prepare as thoroughly as possible. Your goal isn't to make someone love you, your goal is to be the most lovable person you can be. By focusing only on what is within your control, your effort, your character, your actions, you protect your tranquility from the randomness of the outside world. But this raises another question. If we're focused on our inner world, how do we learn to be happy with our outer world, especially when it's not perfect? We all know that feeling. You work so hard to get something, a new phone, a new car, a new relationship, and for a while, it's amazing. But then, the excitement fades. You get used to it. And soon, you're looking for the next new thing. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. It's the satisfaction treadmill. We're constantly chasing a feeling that never lasts. The Stoics had a solution for this 2,000 years ago. It's a technique that sounds strange, even a little dark, but it is perhaps the most powerful tool in their entire toolkit. They called it negative visualization. Here's how it works. On a regular basis, take a moment to imagine that you have lost the things you value most. Imagine your wife has left you. Imagine your car has been stolen. Imagine you've lost your job. Imagine your health has failed. This isn't about being morbid or pessimistic. It's the exact opposite. It's a psychological trick to short-circuit hedonic adaptation. By briefly and calmly contemplating the loss of what you have, you trick your brain into appreciating it again. You learn to want the things you already have. The Stoics would take this even further. When you kiss your child goodnight, Epictetus advised, silently remind yourself that she is mortal, and that you might not have her tomorrow. When you say goodbye to a friend, remember that it could be the last time. Think about two fathers. The first assumes his daughter will always be there. In the morning, he might grunt from behind his newspaper, barely acknowledging her. He postpones playing with her, thinking there's always tomorrow. The second father, the Stoic father, has contemplated his daughter's mortality. When he sees her in the morning, he feels a rush of gratitude that she is still in his life. He takes every chance to connect with her, knowing that these moments are precious and not guaranteed. Which father do you think experiences more joy? And if the worst were to happen, which father would have fewer regrets? The Stoics believed we should apply this to everything, including our own lives. The phrase "live each day as if it were your last" isn't a call for wild, reckless hedonism. It's a call to appreciate the simple, astonishing fact that you are alive today. By remembering that this day could be your last, you're less likely to squander it. You're more likely to find wonder in the ordinary, because you realize that the ordinary is a gift. This technique is a powerful antidote to the jadedness that creeps in as we get older. For a child, the world is new and amazing. They take almost nothing for granted. But as adults, we get used to things. A beautiful sunset is just another sunset. A warm home is just a house. Our spouse is just there. Negative visualization is like a reset button for your sense of wonder. It's a way to feel the joy of a survivor without having to endure the catastrophe. So, we now have two powerful tools: the trichotomy of control to manage our actions and goals, and negative visualization to manage our desires and appreciation. But what about building the mental toughness to actually use these tools when life gets hard? For this, the Stoics practice something that might sound even stranger: voluntary discomfort. The idea is simple. From time to time, you should deliberately cause yourself minor discomfort that you could easily avoid. Musonius Rufus suggested underdressing for cold weather, or going shoeless for a bit. Seneca recommended practicing poverty, living for a few days on the cheapest food and coarse clothing, just to prove to yourself that you can. Again, this isn't about self-punishment. It has three clear benefits. First, it acts like a vaccine against future misfortune. If you've only ever known comfort, the first time you're forced to be cold or hungry will be traumatic. But if you've voluntarily experienced these things before, you'll know you can handle them. The fear of them loses its power over you. Second, it builds confidence. By enduring minor discomforts now, you grow more certain that you can handle major ones later. This reduces your overall anxiety about the future. You're training yourself to be courageous. And third, it dramatically increases your appreciation for what you have. If you really want to enjoy a warm room, go outside into the cold for a while first. If you want to savor a simple meal, wait until you are truly hungry to eat it. By purposefully stepping out of your comfort zone, you make that zone a much more joyful place to be when you return. This practice extends not just to discomfort, but to pleasure. The Stoics warned that pleasure has a dark side. It can enslave us. If we can't resist our cravings, we become, as Marcus Aurelius put it, a twitching puppet pulled by our every impulse. To build self-control, the most important trait for anyone trying to live a deliberate life, the Stoics would sometimes forego harmless pleasures. They might pass up a glass of wine, not because they feared getting drunk, but simply to exercise their willpower, like a muscle. What the Stoics discovered is that the act of foregoing pleasure can itself be a source of a different, higher kind of pleasure, The pleasure of self-mastery. As Epictetus noted, when you resist that bowl of ice cream, you will be pleased and will praise yourself for your strength. This brings us to one of the biggest challenges to our tranquility: other people. Our relationships are the source of our greatest joys, but they are also the source of most of our negative emotions. People insult us, they annoy us, they disappoint us. So what do? Become a hermit? The Stoics said no. We are social animals, and we have a duty to engage with the world and with our fellow humans. The challenge isn't to avoid people, but to learn how to deal with them without losing our peace of mind. Their advice for handling insults is pure psychological genius. Remember Cato, who didn't even remember being struck? That's the mindset. When someone insults you, the Stoics offer a toolkit of responses. First, consider the source of the insult. If it's from someone you respect, like a teacher or a mentor, then you should be grateful for the criticism. It's a gift that helps you improve. If it's from someone you hold in contempt, then their disapproval should be a relief. It means you're probably doing something right. As Seneca would say, their insults are no more meaningful than the barking of a dog. You note it, and you move on. Second, ask yourself if the insult is true. If someone calls you bald and you are, in fact, bald, why is it an insult to be told what is self-evident? But the most powerful responses are humor and silence. A witty, self-deprecating comeback shows that you are so secure in who you are that their words can't touch you. If someone says you have a big ego, you might reply, "You're right. On most days it's noon before I realize anyone else is on the planet." This completely deflates the attack. Even better is to offer no response at all. By simply ignoring an insult, you communicate that the insulter and their opinion are so irrelevant that they aren't even worth a moment of your time. This can be far more frustrating for them than any counter-insult you could ever dream up. The same logic applies to anger. Seneca called anger a brief insanity. It's a plague that has cost humanity more than any disease. When we get angry, we almost always make things worse, and the anger we feel harms us far more than it harms the person we're angry at. The Stoic strategy is to pause. To remember that people don't choose to have faults. To reflect on our own shortcomings. And to put the event in a cosmic context. As Marcus Aurelius would remind himself, in the grand scheme of the universe, this tiny annoyance is nothing. Soon, we and everyone we know will be gone, and of all this drama, not a trace survives today. All these techniques, the trichotomy of control, negative visualization, voluntary discomfort, and strategies for dealing with others, require practice. This is why the Stoics recommended a daily moment of reflection, like a bedtime meditation. Not an empty-minded meditation like in Zen, but an active one. At the end of the day, you ask yourself, what failing did I resist today? What ailment did I cure? Where can I show improvement? You review your day, not to judge yourself harshly, but to learn from your mistakes and plan for a better tomorrow. You become your own coach. This is the essence of the Stoic path. It's not a set of rigid rules, but a series of mental exercises designed to retrain your mind. It's a journey from being a passive victim of your circumstances and emotions to becoming an active, skillful participant in the art of living. It's about understanding that the world outside may be chaotic and unpredictable, but the fortress of your mind can be calm, orderly, and joyful, if you choose to build it. Commentary. So why does this ancient philosophy, born 2,000 years ago in Greece and Rome, feel so incredibly relevant today? I think it's because our modern world, for all its technological wonders, has become an expert at manufacturing the very things the Stoics warned us against: anxiety, distraction, and an insatiable desire for more. We are constantly bombarded with messages telling us that we aren't enough, that we need a newer car, a better job, more followers, a more luxurious life to be happy. We are encouraged to see ourselves as victims of our circumstances, our government, or our past, and to believe that our happiness is something that must be given to us by someone else. Stoicism is a radical act of rebellion against this mindset. It is a declaration of personal responsibility. It tells us that while we may not control the events that happen to us, we have absolute control over how we respond to them. It places the power to live a good life not in the hands of others, but squarely back into our own. What William Irvine does so masterfully in A Guide to the Good Life is to strip away the intimidating academic and historical layers of Stoicism and present it as what it was always meant to be, a practical toolkit for living. He makes it accessible. And he gives it a powerful modern justification. The ancient Stoics believed we should live in accordance with nature because Zeus designed us to use reason. Irvine suggests a different, more modern way to think about it, based on evolutionary psychology. He argues that many of our modern anxieties are the result of evolutionary programming that has outlived its usefulness. Our ancestors survived because they were anxious about where their next meal was coming from, and because they had an insatiable desire for more resources, and because they were hypersensitive to their social status within the tribe. Today, for most of us, those programs are still running in the background, but they no longer help us survive, they just make us miserable. We are using ancient hardware for a modern world. Is Stoicism, in this view, is a way to use our most powerful tool, our ability to reason, to consciously override that outdated programming. It's a way to choose tranquility over anxiety, appreciation over insatiability, and self-respect over the desperate need for others' approval. So, how can you start putting this into practice, right now? You don't have to change your whole life overnight. The Stoics would advise you to start small and be discreet. Practice stealth stoicism. Here are 3 simple exercises you can try today. First, tonight, practice a 30-second negative visualization. As you lie in bed, just before you fall asleep, genuinely contemplate losing one thing you take for granted. It could be your comfortable bed, your good health, or the person sleeping in the next room. Then, open your eyes and feel the flood of gratitude that you haven't lost it. Feel how lucky you are. Second, the next time you feel a wave of anxiety or frustration, pause and apply the trichotomy of control. Ask yourself, regarding this situation, what part is completely in my control? What part is completely out of my control? And what part do I only have some influence over? Just the act of sorting it out can bring immense clarity and calm. Third, internalize one small goal. If you have a workout planned, instead of making your goal to lift a certain amount of weight an external outcome, make your goal to perform every single repetition with perfect form and focus and internal effort. Notice how this shifts your focus from a pass/fail outcome to the quality of your present moment action. In the end, what the Stoics offer us is not a life free from difficulty, but a life in which difficulty no longer has the power to destroy our peace. It's a path from being a leaf blown about by the winds of fortune to becoming a deeply rooted tree that can withstand any storm. It's about discovering that the greatest prize in life is not what you have, but who you have become. That was a summary of A Guide to the Good Life by William B. Irvine. We've touched on the core ideas today, but I have to be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found when you make the journey yourself. The true power of this book lies in the quiet moments of reading, when one of Seneca's letters or a short passage from Marcus Aurelius speaks directly to a struggle you're facing in your own life. This summary is your guide to decide if this book is worth your time. If anything we've talked about today has struck a chord, I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about gaining knowledge, it's an experience that can genuinely recalibrate the way you approach your daily life. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey into Stoic wisdom valuable, I'd be grateful if you would hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, You won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.